You know that feeling? You've got everything planned out, your goals are crystal clear, your routine is on point. You are totally prepared. But then, what happens when life just completely ignores your plans? What do you do when the map you are following is suddenly worthless? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today.
Man, this really just hits you, right? It's that exact moment when a thick, unexpected fog bank just rolls in, and suddenly you can't even see your own hand in front of your face. Every single instinct is just screaming at you to either slam on the brakes or floor it and hope for the best. And you know what? Both of those are a total recipe for disaster. So, we're going to give this feeling a name. We're calling it the fog. It's that state of absolute overwhelm where all your normal, smart decision-making skills just completely abandon you. But look, the first step to getting through it is actually understanding what it is. And let's be super clear here. The fog isn't just, a bad mood. It's a very specific state where your brain's normal operating system just crashes. It's that phone call that changes your whole world. It's the burnout that you never saw coming. Or maybe it's the market crash that just vaporizes your 5-year plan. It's when you feel utterly, completely lost. Okay, so it turns out not all fogs are created equal. To find our way out, we first have to figure out what kind of storm we're even in. And there are basically 3 main types. First up, you've got the internal fog. This is a weather system that's brewed up entirely inside your own mind. Think about the super high achiever who all of a sudden feels physically sick at the thought of opening their laptop. Yep, that's the fog of burnout. Or, the student who's so overwhelmed by all the possible career choices that they just choose nothing. In this case, the storm is coming from inside the house. Second, there's the external fog. This is when the world literally pulls the rug out from under you. A sudden layoff, a scary diagnosis from a doctor, or, hey, a global event that just shreds the rulebook for everyone. In this kind of fog, the systems you used to rely on just aren't stable anymore, and you're left scrambling around in the dark. And third, there's this really modern and kind of crippling version, the option fog. This is basically the paradox of choice coming to life. You have so many potential paths, so much data that your brain just overloads. You get stuck in this endless loop of research, terrified of making the wrong move, and so you end up making no move at all. So, there you are. You're in one of these fogs. Your heart is pounding, your primal brain is screaming at you to fight, to run, to do something, anything, right this second. Well, the first rule of navigating the fog is maybe the most counterintuitive thing you'll ever hear. Just stop. Seriously, trying to fight your way out with frantic, panicked decisions only gets you more lost. Running away into distractions, that just puts off the inevitable. And freezing in place gets you nowhere. The single most powerful active choice you can make is to refuse to let the panic be your pilot. Survival experts actually use this really simple acronym, STOP. Sit down, think, observe, and plan. This act of stopping, it isn't passive at all. It's the moment you grab the steering wheel back from your terrified lizard brain and start to navigate on purpose. And that is where our main tool comes in. This right here is the clarity compass. Think of it as your tool for when you don't have a map. It's not going to show you the final destination. It's too foggy for that, but it will help you find your true north so you can take one single confident step in the right direction. The compass has 4 points, and you have to touch them in this exact order. First, ground in the physical. Second, identify the next milestone. Third, tap your counsel. And fourth, define the next doable action. So let's break down how this actually works, starting with point number 1. Okay, so when your mind is just a hurricane of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, it's completely unreliable. You can't think your way out of a panic. So the very first step is to get out of your head and retreat to the one thing you actually have control over right now, your physical body. The real power of this technique is just how simple it is. By literally just walking through your senses, you are physically pulling your awareness out of that anxiety spiral in your head and planting it firmly in the here and now. You're not trying to solve the big problem yet. You're just steadying yourself so you don't get swept away. Right. Once you're grounded, then you can start to think. But you have to think small. Asking, how am I ever going to fix my whole life, is an impossible question inside the fog. So instead, you shrink your focus dramatically. You're not looking for the end of the journey, you're just looking for the very next signpost. And this is just a brilliant illustration of that shift. You take this massive, overwhelming goal like solve my career crisis, and you shrink it down to something tiny and concrete, like update my LinkedIn profile. Every small thing you get done is like a little flare of hope, proving to your brain that yes, progress is still possible. Now, here's a hard truth. When you're in the fog, you are the absolute worst person to ask for advice. Your judgment is completely clouded by fear and anxiety. So it's time to switch to your external sensors, your council of trusted fog lighthouses. And look, these aren't just any friends. Your council should be, say, 3 to 5 people who are totally trustworthy, objective, honest enough to tell you what you need to hear instead of just what you want to hear, and who have a proven track record of good judgment. Think of them as your personal board of directors for when life gets crazy. And you don't even have to figure out what to say. Just use the script. It clearly tells them where you're at. It sets a boundary that you're not just looking to complain, and it asks directly for that external perspective that you so desperately need. All right, the final point of the compass. You're grounded. You've got a milestone. You have some outside perspective. Now you'll pull it all together into one thing, the very next doable action. This is the ignition key that starts the engine. And just look how small these actions are. They have to be so simple that it's almost impossible to fail. The power isn't in the size of the action, it's in the completion of it. Finishing this one tiny thing breaks the spell of paralysis and creates a little crack in the fog, letting some light back in. The whole point of this framework isn't to somehow create a life where there's no fog. That's just not possible. The goal is to change your relationship with it, to start seeing it not as this terrible enemy, but as a brutal but very effective teacher. So just remember your clarity compass. Number 1, ground by getting back into your body. 2, milestone by focusing on that next small win. 3, counsel to get that crucial outside perspective. And 4, action by taking one tiny doable step. Ground, milestone, counsel, action. That's your guys right there. Because, let's be honest, the fog is coming for all of us, sooner or later. The only real question is, when it rolls in, are you going to let it paralyze you, or are you going to pull out your compass, find your bearing, and start navigating your way through? The choice is always yours.